Let's talk about a silent threat that's creeping through the accounting industry. We're talking about burnout. And it's not just a personal problem anymore. It's become a full-blown business risk. So today, we're going to dig into what's really causing it, and more importantly, we're going to unpack a new model firms are using to protect their most important asset, their people.
And that right there, that really hits the nail on the head. See, when burnout takes hold in your firm, it's not about one person just having a bad week. It's a systemic problem that starts to chip away at the quality of your work. It can damage your client relationships, and it can totally stall your firm's growth.
So, where do we even begin? Let's start by diagnosing the problem. Because if you own a firm, chances are you're seeing the effects of this emergency every single day, even if you're not calling it burnout. These are the classic symptoms of a system that's stretched way too thin.
So does any of this feel a little too familiar? Is your team constantly working weekends just to keep up? Have you noticed a little uptick in errors lately? Are deadlines starting to feel less like goals and more like impossible mountains to climb? And what about morale? Is it kind of low? Maybe you've even lost some really good people recently. These aren't just one-off problems, they're huge red flags.
Now, here's the thing you've got to understand. This is not about your team being lazy or not working hard enough. In fact, it's usually the exact opposite. The real cause is so much deeper. It's actually baked right into the DNA of the traditional accounting firm.
And here it is. This is the real culprit. It's that old-school model where every single task, from the most repetitive data entry to the highest-level strategy, is all handled by one team under one roof. And with today's talent shortages and the sheer complexity of the work, that model is just, well, it's breaking. It puts way too much pressure on way too few people.
And when you put the two models side by side, the difference is just night and day. On one hand, you've got the old way, which just naturally creates bottlenecks and puts everyone under constant, unsustainable pressure. But on the other hand, you have this new model that completely rethinks the structure. Your U.S. leadership focuses on the big picture, strategy, client relationships, while a global team handles the execution, and that creates this incredible, continuous workflow.
Okay, so that brings us to the big idea, the solution here. It's about making a strategic pivot toward a firm that's just more modern, and frankly, more resilient. It's about changing the fundamental structure by bringing in global support teams to handle the workload in a much smarter way.
All right, so if you're going to build a global team, the big question is, why India? Why has it become the spot for the U.S. accounting industry? Well, the answer isn't just about saving money. It's about a massive strategic advantage.
It really boils down to this amazing combination of factors. First, you've got this huge pool of incredibly skilled professionals who have a deep, deep understanding of U.S. accounting standards. They've got great English skills and tons of experience working with CPA firms. And then there's the time zone difference, which creates that round-the-clock work cycle. I mean, literally, work is getting done while your U.S. team is asleep.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but what does this actually look like in your day-to-day? Well, the core idea is pretty simple. You lift all that repetitive, time-sucking work off your in-house team's shoulders, and that frees them up to focus on the work that really matters.
This is the stuff that forms the foundation. I'm talking about bank recs, journal entries, the monthly close. All of it is super important, but let's be honest, it's also a massive time sink, and it doesn't directly bring in new revenue. When you offload these core functions, your senior staff suddenly have the bandwidth to focus on what really grows the firm, high-level advisory work and building those key client relationships.
And let's talk about the big one, tax season. Just imagine a world where your offshore team handles all the heavy lifting, all the prep work. This frees up your U.S. partners to focus only on the final review and talking to the client. The result? You get more work done with higher quality and without pushing your team to the brink. They actually stay safe.
And look, don't think this is just for the simple stuff. This model is perfect for highly technical, high-skill work too, like fund accounting. Think about all the complex NAV calculations, tracking capital accounts, putting together investor reports. This isn't just about delegating tasks, it's about augmenting your team. Your global team can act like a permanent, virtual finance department, ready to provide specialized support whenever you need it.
But you know, at the end of the day, this whole strategy, it's about something way bigger than just efficiency. The real ultimate return on your investment here is the health and well-being of your team, and that, in turn, makes your entire firm healthier.
And the impact on your team's morale? I mean, it's a game changer. When the workload is actually manageable, you just naturally see less overtime, stress levels go way down, and job satisfaction goes way up.
Your team finally gets to focus on meaningful work, which, as we all know, is one of the biggest reasons people decide to stick around.
And that's the key right there. The whole point of this isn't to replace your team, it's to elevate them. When you take away all the drudgery, you empower them to tackle the big strategic challenges and the advisory work that probably got them excited about accounting in the first place.
So, all of this brings us to a really important and maybe tough question. When you take a good, honest look at your firm, at your team's capacity, the morale, your plans for growth, is it time for you to change your model?
How do you know if it's time? Well, ask yourself these questions. Is your team just constantly exhausted? Is finding good people a never-ending battle? Is your turnover rate creeping up? Do deadlines feel completely unmanageable? And does the idea of growing your firm feel more stressful than exciting? If you're nodding along to these, then yeah, it's a pretty clear sign your current model just isn't working anymore.
Because here's the bottom line. The future of accounting isn't about finding people who can just take more punishment. It's about building smarter, more resilient systems that let your firm grow while actually protecting the very people who make that growth possible.
So let's end with this because it's a really powerful idea. Burnout isn't a problem of effort. It's a problem of process. You don't fix it by telling people to work harder. You fix it by fundamentally changing how the work gets done.